Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the virtual Village of Woodbury Village Board meeting for October 8th, 2020. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for the 216 police officers killed year to date, 118 of which were from COVID and 4 from 9/11 related illnesses year to date. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, everybody. Oh, we've already had our evening's entertainment, so let's get on with the business of the village. So, as usual, we'll start with public comment on agenda items only. So we only have 3 members of the public, or actually, 2 members of the public, so I'll just call on you by name. Starting at the top of the list, I have Joe Zlata. So Joe, go ahead if you have anything on the agenda. Take that as a no, Joe. Okay. Matt, you're not unmuted. Matt, do you have anything on the agenda?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, please.
On the Pulver fill dumping, there are some points I'd like you to consider.
Well, before you get started, Matt, I'm just going to let you know that that item is going to be tabled until the next meeting. So
Can I speak to it now?
Yes, you can. It was on the agenda. Go right ahead.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ice House is very narrow. It's a gravel road. If the route to dump is from Quaker, it could present a danger with oversized, supersized trucks on Brigadoon should be considered if this is allowed. I'd like them to consider that because, like I say, it's you can't pass two. I don't think you can pass 2 vehicles. Never mind a truck and a car on that road. The application is basically blank as to where the fill is coming from, and I'd like you to please consider not allowing contaminated. Another Office of Environmental Remediation contaminated site to get fill from. I'd really prefer it if you didn't allow a Office of Remediation site to be used for this fill, because I have a feeling it's an awful lot of fill. And the last time that happened, Gary could not keep up with the grids from Yonkers that were restricted fill that were requested as to be taken and dumped here. There's no way that he could keep up with it if it's from some Office of Environmental Remediation where he has to look through and make sure grids are okay and unrestricted as opposed to restricted. In looking through the applicant's form, it mentions restricted fill on it, along with groundwater, whatever it says, but it mentions restricted, and well, the law is it has to be unrestricted fill coming in here. Basically, it's a blank form anyway. I don't know how this even came up. That you need to know where this fill is coming from. And it amounts to filling in a huge area. It needs to be quantified as well as to how much fill and how many trucks, and that's something that has to be considered. You're taking a mountainside and filling it in. The guy he's filled there for at least 5 years to put a parking lot in. I don't know how long this is going to take, but it sounds like a huge thing. So basically, I would like you to not allow a fill from an Office of Remediation site that a lot of city dirt's coming out that they have to get rid of, and they want to dump it here. I mean, I'm not sure what this applicant is asking for, because it's a blank form that he's provided.
Well, we'll address all of those issues, obviously, when we consider the application at our next meeting. And I made notes, Matt, and I appreciate your comments. Do you have anything
Okay,
else?
and then I wanted to check on that police grant to see how much it was for. I don't understand what the, I don't understand.
You're talking about the CDBG
No,
grant?
the police grant
We don't
for
have a police grant.
nonviolence. It's
Oh,
on the
no, okay,
agenda.
so that's just the resolution that we have to pass in order to accept CDBG money, which is going to be for fire hydrants. So it's not a police grant. We just have to pass that resolution along with a couple of others in order to be eligible for the money.
It mentions that police are not able to use
We have to pass
unnecessary
the
force.
resolution, Matt, but we don't even have a police department, so it's somewhat meaningless.
Okay, so it's for one thing. Okay, very good.
Yeah, it's for fire hydrants.
What does it amount to?
That I don't know off the top of my head. Des, do you know? So I want to say a little over 100 grand, if I'm not mistaken.
Perfect.
I
okay.
honestly,
I
I
could
have
be
the,
way off on that, though, Matt.
Can you
I'm
hear
really
me?
sorry. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
okay, I have the grant in front, I have the grant, hang on, I'm pulling it up right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Give me 1 second, please.
Well, she's looking for that, man. I noticed the same thing when I first looked at it, so I did some research, and this has been a law back into the early 90s that for these types of grants, this exact language has been around since the early 90s. I thought it was something new as well, in reaction to something, but it wasn't.
It's actually somewhat new that CDBG is requiring it to be adopted as part of their contract. And we're seeing that a lot of places. And like you said, they're requiring specific language,
Yeah.
which they're going pretty far in their reach, CDBG. But if the village wants the money, these are things that
It is what
need
it
to
is.
be in
and,
place.
especially if it doesn't affect us really, because like I said, we don't have a
Right.
police department, so it's okay.
And for the most part,
Chris-
you already have drug-free workplace and
Yeah,
affirmative
we do.
action.
But we're adopting this specific language to satisfy the grant requirements. Chris, we could hear you, but your audio was a little low, just to note.
That better?
74.
Oh, much better.
70
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, $74,100.
Okay, so I was close, not too close.
Mhm.
You get that, Matt? 74,000?
Yeah, it said the police couldn't use unnecessary force and stuff like that, so it concerned me. That's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
Night.
Good night, Matt. Just want to go back to Joe's ladder. Did you have anything? All right, we're going to move on with the.
Nothing for me, Tim.
Okay, thanks, Joe. We're going to move on to administrative business. I'm going to request a motion in a second to accept receipt of the minutes of the meeting held September 24th, 2020. So trustee Giacomazzo with the motion, trustee Graziano with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
How about aye? Okay, everyone indicated aye. Moving on to approval of the abstract. Need a motion in a second to approve the abstract number 9 containing vouchers 200681 through 200750 totaling $133,035.27.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Burek with the motion. Trustee Gomez with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
My vote aye. Okay. So next up on administrative business, we have to accept a resignation for the Land Preservation Committee. So can I have a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Chris Perino from the Land Preservation Committee? Trustee Giacomazzo with the motion, trustee Gomez with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Okay, so now to fill that vacancy, I want to do an appointment. Need a motion and a second to appoint Michael Coco to the Land Preservation Committee.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Burek with the motion, trustee
I'll second.
Graziano with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So we have a last minute add. We needed to accept the resignation for the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. So I need a motion and a second to accept with regrets the resignation of Karen Ungerer from the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee.
I'll make that
I'll
motion.
make that
So
motion.
trustee Graziano with the motion, trustee Gomez with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Everyone indicated aye. So now I need a motion and a second to appoint Andrew Zumas to the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee.
I'll make the motion again.
Trustee Graziano with the motion, trustee Burek with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, thank you. So now we're going to move on to custodian. So this is something that we budgeted for. We discussed this in the past. Like a motion and a second to authorize the village clerk to call for the list from the Orange County Department of Human Resources Civil Service for the position of part-time custodian. If a list does not exist, then the village clerk would be authorized to advertise for the position following the procedure dictated by the county.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Gomez with the motion. Trustee Giacomazzo with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay. Moving on to old business. Now we have to adopt several resolutions, as we talked about prior to the meeting getting started, to accept the CDBG grants. So first, I need a motion and a second to adopt the Orange County Community Development Block Grant Excessive Force Policy as described in the motion. Des and/or Kelly, we don't need to read these out, do we? Okay, thank you. So I saw trustee Gomez's hand go up. Is that correct? Yes, trustee Gomez with the motion. Have a second? Trustee Giacomazzo with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So motion number two with that, or policy number two, we need a motion and a second to adopt the drug-free workplace policy as required by the New York State Community Development Block Grant Program as it relates to the project we're receiving funds for, which, as I stated earlier, is fire hydrant replacement.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Burek with the motion. Trustee Graziano with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Last one for this. We need a motion and a second to adopt the excessive force policy, adopting an affirmative action plan as required under the New York State Community Development Block Program. Trustee Gomez with the motion, trustee Giacomazzo with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. This one I think we need a roll call for, right? Or is that not correct? We do not need a roll call, Kelly?
No, no need for a roll call.
Excellent. Moving on then. Mr. Higgins had made comment about the fill permit application that's before us, but the applicant has requested that this item be tabled until the next meeting. So we're just going to move on to the next item under new business. So as many people know, last year we acquired what's known as the Osweiler building. And we decided at the very beginning of this year that we're going to move the building department over to that Osweiler building. To do so, we need to do some renovations. And prior to the renovations, we need architecture plans. So we put out an RFP. So we received 3 proposals for improvements and work needed at the soon-to-be building department on the corner of Park and Adams Street, otherwise known as the Osweiler building. Based on the proposals that we received, the estimated architect costs submitted are as follows. Land Associates out of Goshen for $22,580. H2M Architects and Engineers out of Suffern for $23,750. And Lothrop out of White Plains for $49,900. We received a memo from Building Inspector Gary Thomasberger stating that he reviewed the proposals and recommends that the board employ the services of either LAN or H2M. He feels that both companies are qualified to handle the proposal and he'd be comfortable working with either one. So now we'll have a brief discussion, or as long as the discussion as we need to decide who we want to give this to. So why don't we start with you, Jesus?
I think we should go with the lowest cost is the least.
Just to note, we do not have to
I
accept the
spoke-
lowest bid, but obviously in
No, I
most
know.
cases we
I know.
usually
I
do.
spoke to Gary. He said it'd be good with either of those two.
Okay.
So if we're both, I'll choose the least. Save
Okay.
us some money if we can.
Makes sense. Does anyone else have any comments to Tara, Chris, and Andrew?
No, I also spoke to Gary also, which was repetitive that I just said it like that. But he would be comfortable either or. We've got a lot on H2M's plate right now, so I am okay going with Lamb as well. So
That's kind of where I am. The bids are close enough in my mind that they're not, substantively different as far as expense is concerned. So I think that, the kind of work that H2M does for the village, and we appreciate that, but I think bringing somebody else on board to do another project would kind of be a good thing for us. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, thanks. I was straining just a little bit, but I was able to understand you.
Yeah, so I would, land would be fine with me. I think, we could use somebody new and give a fresh perspective on some stuff every once in a while.
Okay, Tara, any thoughts?
Yeah, I was impressed with their work, Lan. If you look at their pictures and the projects they've worked on, I like their style, and they're the cheapest. So I'm also a Lan fan.
Okay. Well, with those comments then, can I have a motion and a second to accept the proposal received from Land for architectural work at the building department for $22,580? Trustee Gomez with the motion. Trustee Giacomazzo with the second. Any further discussion on this? Okay, then all in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay. Next, in our continuing series on introductory local law introductions, we're going to introduce local law number 11 of 2020, which is bed and breakfast prohibition. So first we're going to introduce the law, then we'll do secra, then we'll do the appropriate referrals, and then finally we'll set a public hearing date. So first, can I have a motion and a second to introduce introductory local law number 11 of 2020, which will amend chapter 310 zoning of the village code to remove bed and breakfasts and boarding houses as permitted uses within the village of Woodbury?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Burek with the motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Graziano with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, need a motion and a second to declare the Village of Woodbury Board of Trustees as lead agency for this project under secret.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Giacomazzo with the motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Burek with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Now I need a motion and a second to preliminarily declare a negative declaration for this project. Oh.
Kelly.
Sorry,
Attorney
I was
Norton wants to make the motion.
trying to figure out where my mute button was. The
I'm
next,
making a motion. Ooh.
the
All of a
next,
sudden, she thinks she's on the board now.
I'd vote for her.
You can have it. You can.
You skip,
Which one of our jobs do you want?
you skip typing the action, by the way.
yes, that was what my was.
That was your thing. You gotta type
Oh, is
it
that it?
first
Okay,
before you-
yes, I
Yeah.
did skip a
if you could
sentence.
type it as a type 1 action.
I would be happy to do that. So before we have a motion and a second for the negative deck, can I have a motion and a second to classify this as a type 1 action under secret?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so Trustee Burek with the motion, Trustee Giacomazzo with the second. Any discussion on that? All in favor? And I vote aye. Kelly, what's your vote? Oh, Kelly votes aye. Okay, so now we need a motion and a second to declare a negative declaration for this project.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Trustee Graziano.
I'll
Trustee
second.
Burek with the second?
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Yes, I just want to actually say a quick thing. I sent the board the full EAF parts 1, 2, and 3. You had that for review prior to the meeting. I didn't know if anybody had any questions or suggested any revisions, or if that was acceptable for you to declare that there's no significant adverse environmental impacts.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Okay, it was pretty straightforward since it's not causing any development, but okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. Anybody else have any thoughts or questions before we vote?
So Kelly, they wouldn't preliminary then? They would just declare it a negative deck?
They can just declare a negative declaration.
So we'll remove the word preliminary. Okay.
As amended?
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Aye.
Okay, so lastly, no, second to lastly, need
There's
a
just
motion and a
one.
second to refer
Yes.
introductory local law number 11 of 2020 to the Orange County Planning Department under GML 239 and the Village of Woodbury Planning Board for comments.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Trustee Graziano with the motion, Trustee Giacomazzo with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay,
Aye.
I will refer those tomorrow.
thank you, ma'am. That concludes our regular business. We thought we had a bigger agenda, but
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
You still have to do one more thing. You got to schedule the public hearing.
Yes.
Wow. sorry, my head's elsewhere tonight. I apologize.
That's okay.
So,
I mean, I made a motion, so I think it's okay, right?
yeah, that's
I
what
mean,
threw me
I
off.
feel left out, so.
Desiree, you second the motion.
So
I
can I have a
second.
motion
Can
and
I
a
sing that?
second to
I
schedule the
second
public
that
hearing for this local law?
motion.
I'm sorry, Desiree was singing. I don't know if everybody heard me. So can I have a motion and a second to schedule a public hearing to be held at 7:30 PM on November 12th, 2020 on introductory local law 11 of 2020? Trustee Gomez with the motion. Trustee Bjork with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Aye.
One more thing under new business I think we should throw out there, and we did talk about this at the last meeting, and I apologize, it's not on the written agenda. We need to figure out what we're doing for our meetings in November and December. You want to have a discussion about that now or deal with that at our next meeting?
We'll do it now.
We can do it now.
All right, good. So typically, and Jesus and Andrew would remember this from last year, but typically year after year, our second meeting in both November and December usually falls either on or near Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we typically schedule a different meeting or combine one meeting at the two or whatever the case may be, depending on our needs. But at the very least, we need to pay bills in November and December. So sometimes we do a meeting first thing in the morning with the only item on the agenda is passing an abstract, or we pick a different evening during the week. And considering the fact that we're on Zoom, we don't have conflicts with the meeting place like we used to when we were at the old town hall. So that is an option. And Kelly has something to say about this. Go ahead, Kelly.
Well, right now, the governor's order only permits these through November 3rd, but I think you should assume that they would be continued simply due to the uptick that we've seen.
Yeah, I would think we're pretty safe in making that assumption right now. But thank you for that. Being the ever-present attorney, we appreciate that. So I'm going to go to Desiree to see if she has suggestions on this, and she has to prepare the abstract for these. And that's really the key to all of this. What are your thoughts, young lady?
Well, looking at the calendar, and I'm trying to bring it up real fast. Your second meeting in November is always Thanksgiving. So we can either just do the special meeting to pay the bills, which we would definitely want to do because there's, a long period before that and the 10th of December. Or if you feel it's necessary to have a full-fledged meeting, then we can, we've generally done it the Tuesday before the Thursday that the meeting would have been canceled.
Actually,
So
you know
you're
what? I'm
looking
going
at
to
the
interrupt you for a
24th.
second because that's a very good
Okay.
point. Why don't we have a discussion amongst the board members as to what you guys want to do with regard to momentum on issues, local laws that we're scheduling or that we have coming up and things of that nature. Perhaps you guys want to move it to a Tuesday night instead of just a morning meeting to do the bills.
But if I can add real quick, Tim,
Sure.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
Luckily in December, there's actually 5 Thursdays. Of course, the 5th one is the 31st, but there's also 5 Wednesdays and 5 Tuesdays. So if you needed or wanted to have a full-fledged second meeting in December, there are days of the week, there's 3 extra days of the week, although I wouldn't do it on the 31st, that would accommodate having an extra
No.
full-fledged meeting, whereas the week of Thanksgiving is usually really busy with people traveling and trying to accommodate schedules that way. That's all I wanted to add.
So
Sorry.
my suggestion would be perhaps skip the second meeting in November and just do a morning meeting to pay bills and then have a second meeting in December on a different day. But I'm completely open to anybody else's suggestion on that.
I don't know. I think we have a lot of work to do, and we continue to do a lot of work. So I'm more in favor of having full meetings all the way through.
Okay, I get it. That's totally fair. Anybody else?
I'm in agreement with CJ also. I mean, these meetings, these secondary meetings for the holidays could be shorter meetings, but we can continue moving the ball forward.
Yeah,
So-
I had the same thought. I don't
Yeah.
disagree with that at all. We have a lot going on.
Yep.
Sarah, Jesus,
Tuesday
any
before.
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah.
Yeah,
Full
same
meeting
thing.
fun.
All right, so why don't we look at Tuesdays in November then?
Before you actually set the meeting, that might be something that we can talk about at another time, just taking a look at the timetable of different things that the board wants to do. So you make sure that that coincides with any statutory requirements for timeframes and publications before you actually set that meeting.
All right, so why don't we do this? We have an attorney-client coming up. We can talk about that later on with regard to legislation and anything else that's on your mind, Kelly. We can think about that. We can discuss that later in attorney-client, and we can set the dates on the 22nd of this month for November and December. That gives us enough time, I think, right?
Right, and I'm assuming we're going to set them tentative to the governor continuing the state of emergency, which I
Well-
cannot for the life of me ever see coming out, but at this point.
Yeah. Well, certainly not in this calendar year, but
No.
you know.
Not now.
Well, I wish you'd extend it for longer than a month, and then I wouldn't have to repeat this every other meeting, but
Is there a statutory reason why he's not doing that? Because he could always rescind the executive
wishful
order.
thinking.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever.
Because he could always rescind the executive order. I mean, if he did it for 90 days, he could rescind it at 65 days if he didn't need it anymore, right?
He could, but if he rescinded it, he would have to put a plan in place for what are you going to do for meetings that had already been noticed a certain way and things like that. But at the same time, I mean,
Well,
he
we're
could
already
just-
noticing our meetings when we're running the clock out on that anyway, simply because we believe it's in the best interest of everybody. So, all right, makes sense. All right, so everybody good with that plan then? So we'll set the dates at our next meeting, and we'll move forward with full meetings through the rest of the year, at least 2 a month. Okay, all right, good.
Perfect.
So then that concludes our regular business. We'll go out to the public for comment, both of you.
Well, just double check Facebook also.
Well, I'm not accepting Facebook comments. I mean, I'm not going to monitor Facebook and Zoom and, everything else and text messaging and so on. I mean, Kelly and I had this conversation. Do you see anything on Facebook?
I did from Jerry Freud, who was asking about the moratorium.
All right, let me take a look at that and I'll
Okay.
find it.
There's one question. It's not bad.
I do not see the question. Could you just read the question for us, Andrew?
Sure. Hold on one second. Oh boy.
You got it?
No, I had it. Hold on.
You got it in front of me if you want.
No, go ahead, CJ, because I don't know what happened to my screen.
He goes, I'm curious to know when the village will give decision on the building moratorium proposed last month but was shelved.
Okay. So to answer your question, Mr. Frund, is it?
Yes, correct.
Okay, Mr. Frund, to answer your question, that moratorium issue is tabled. Well, we're waiting on additional information with which to make a better decision on how we want to craft the moratorium. So it will be, I would say, and this is just a guess, but probably no earlier than Thanksgiving, probably between Christmas or Thanksgiving and Christmas. That sound about right, everybody?
Yeah.
Something like that. I hope that answers your question. Okay. So that's from the public, from Mr. Frund via Facebook. Mr. Zlata, do you have anything?
Yeah, just a quick one since Rob is on.
Shoot.
We any closer to deciding a date for electronic drop-off at the end of the year?
I thought it was advertised already. What's the date? Anybody know? Somebody,
No, we
everybody knows.
haven't advertised.
I have it.
Go ahead, Rob.
It's November 14th at the Highway Department from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. That will also be shredding too and electronics. I just want to remind the public that if you aren't there between 8 and 12 for shredding, we will not hold any documents for you. They have to be shredded by the company that's coming in.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that's wonderful. I'm glad we're doing that. Thanks, Rob. Actually, he's the only member of the public there now. Okay, so then let's go to department heads. Or excuse me, sorry, board member comment and department comment. I'm all over the page today.
All right.
Okay, so I'll start off. I have a few comments to make, unlike usual. So I want to start by commending and thanking the We Are Woodbury group, and in particular, trustees Giacomazza and Gomez for the beautification and cleanup work they've been doing around the village. The Savory and Jay's Deli are looking great, and your efforts are appreciated by all. The efforts of this group are part of a larger effort to make Woodbury an even better place to live and work. That again, trustees Giacomazza and Graziano, or excuse me, trustees Giacomazza and Gomez have been working on, and Burek.
No, I said there were too many G's.
There are too many G's. One of you has to go. Oh, sorry, that was a bad joke. Wow, I didn't mean it that way at all. Wow.
Wow. All right, I'm out.
Let's just move on. So thank you for all of your efforts, and please keep up the great work. It's getting a lot of community traction. And it's really doing a great thing for what we consider downtown Highland Mills and then downtown Central Valley. So moving on to a different topic, it appears as if we're starting a second wave of COVID in the Hudson Valley region, especially in the lower Hudson Valley. In the past 24 hours, we've had an increase of 100 cases in Orange County, 47 of which were in Palm Tree. This is the single largest increase of cases in the county since April. By working together, we can get through this safely. We want our residents to stay healthy and safe. We want our local businesses to be open and be successful. The most important thing you can do is to be considerate, respect each other, and follow the recommendations of the Orange County Health Department. By following simple guidelines, you can stay healthy and protect others. Wear a mask. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Follow social distancing guidelines. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. And we've all heard this before. Keep a distance of at least 6 feet that helps slow the spread of the virus. If you're sick, stay home and isolate yourself. Follow the recommendations of your physician. Lastly, we're in the start of flu season. COVID-19 has symptoms similar to the flu. If you present to a healthcare provider with flu symptoms, you will be considered to be COVID positive until proven otherwise. To prevent this possibility, or to at least help mitigate that, there's a simple solution: get a flu shot. They're widely available and either free or at low cost. You can get alerts on your smartphone for potential exposures on a new mobile app that was created. COVID Alert New York is a voluntary anonymous exposure notification smartphone app that provides an alert if you were in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19. By getting these notifications, you can begin self-quarantine sooner, which will protect your friends, family, and coworkers by preventing further spread of the virus. It's free, and it's available in the Google Play Store or in the Apple App Store. So last topic, I promise, we're a little over 3 weeks away from Election Day, and early voting begins 2 weeks from Saturday on October 24th. There's a lot of information available on the Orange County Board of Elections website regarding when and where you can vote, either for early voting or on Election Day, as well as on absentee ballots, becoming a poll worker, lists of candidates running, and a frequently asked questions section. You can find this info on the Board of Elections site at orangecountygov.com. So there are about 6,900 registered voters in Woodbury. Last year, the last election, we had about 35% of the registered voters participate in the election process, which we considered good turnout based on past election numbers. 35% we considered good turnout. As a community, we need to drive that number much higher. You deserve representation that reflects your views, not just at the national level, but at the local level. Your elected village and town board members have significant impact on your lives. Here at the village level, we make decisions about zoning code, which we've been doing all year long, water and sewer resources, village roads, building permits, and many other areas. All of this translates to how much you pay in taxes for the services that we provide as a village. We appreciate your participation in our village board meetings, and we do everything we can to make your participation possible, as you noticed tonight. Voting is at the top of the lists of ways in which you can participate in local government. It's a right that should be exercised 100% of the time, not 35% of the time. We can do better. Woodbury can do better. So please get out and vote. And we'll be repeating this message, I think, with all of us until Election Day. So thank you for your attention. Why don't we go to Trustee Graziano.
Okay, do we know who is who? All right, we're good. All right. I guess Rob dropped off, but I just wanted to give him and his guys a lot of credit. I've been passing them every day on Roselawn Road. They're doing a lot of work over there, and they're directing traffic wonderfully. They're working in all full PPE. They're doing it very safely, and they're doing a great job. So I just wanted to let them know that, because I've been passing that every single day going to work in the morning, and they're doing it very well. As far as my comments go, first, as always, I'd like to thank everybody for attending tonight. As we enter the fall and winter seasons, we need to remain as diligent as ever, as this virus has shown no signs of slowing down. It knows no political or social boundaries. It is a danger to all of us. I get it. I understand we're all tired of the masks, tired of the fear, tired of the pandemic in general. I'm there. I get it. I feel it as well. It feels as though we've been fighting this thing forever, and at this point, we all yearn for a sense of normalcy. Unfortunately, that day is still off in the future, and for the near term, we need to muster all of our strength and continue to fight this pandemic with all we have. We need to remain vigilant, wear our masks, and social distance wherever and whenever we can. I have seen what this virus has done to people who have become sick, and I've seen what it has done to friends of mine who own small businesses in our community. It has taken a deep toll. So I implore everyone not to give up now when the brightest days are just over the horizon. Keep the faith, watch out for your neighbors, and most of all, stay healthy. Only by working together can we beat back this pandemic and have our lives finally return to normal. Lastly, I would like to thank as well Andrew and Jesus for all that they do in our community. It is one thing to talk, it's quite another thing to walk the walk. Both Jesus and Andrew give of themselves freely, volunteer countless hours of time for community events, and are the first ones to respond when any resident of our Woodbury community has an issue. I am proud to work besides these two individuals. They personify the words community service. Woodbury deserves leaders that will always put our residents first, and we deserve leaders like Jesus Gomez and Andrew Giacomazza. Thank you and good night.
Okay, Trustee Gomez.
Mayor Egan, there are only 26 days left to the election, and I for one can't wait for it to be over. Not just for the presidential election, but for our own village election. It's the part of political service for our community, which I dislike the most. At times, it feels like certain people only remember the one thing you did not or could not do, but forget all the good you tried and did do. In these new times, when our nation is under so much distress, we must remember to be kind and understanding with each other. We must take the time to try and see others' point of view, especially when it doesn't align with your own. It is so easy to tear each other down, especially on social media, where people believe it's okay to say and do whatever they feel like because there are no consequences for their actions and words. Let us start to heal by remembering to be better, kinder, and more understanding. Be the better person, and hopefully others will follow. And together we can at least make Woodbury one great place to continue living in, not just for ourselves, but most importantly, for our children and their future. Thank you all for coming out, and stay safe and healthy. And thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Jesus. Trustee Burek.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending tonight. Our newly formed Land Preservation Committee had its first meeting 2 weeks ago. It was an organizational meeting which focused on the different roles each member will serve in, and also to brainstorm about our vision for the group and what we hope to accomplish. The members of this group were carefully selected by this board because each brings a different perspective, but all with the common goal of developing a plan to preserve the natural beauty of Woodbury and its resources. The committee, when we met 2 weeks ago, selected two co-chairs, one being Neil Kraus and the other Rachel Bruce, who both have tremendous vision and a love for our village. And it really is truly an honor to work side by side with them to bring this all to our home. When people think of Woodbury, they think big commercial development because of the Woodbury Common. What they don't think about are the creeks, the streams, the lakes that we have, the wetlands, the wildlife, all the beautiful history that's here and all the historic sites that go with it. And the list goes on. I could really go on all night. This is what we're trying to save. This is what we're trying to preserve. And this is what we want for our children and their children and their children. And we want to make sure that there's a balance between the development and the natural beauty that we live in. Last Thursday, every single trustee, along with many members of our Land Preservation Committee, attended a webinar hosted by the Orange County Department of Planning about the Community Preservation Act. We heard a great deal from the supervisor of the town of Warwick, Michael Sweeten, about the process the town of Warwick had to undergo to get their community preservation passed. It was no easy feat and at times was overwhelmingly difficult. But what I can tell everyone is that this village board right in front of you is serious about bringing this idea to fruition and will work tirelessly in doing so. One of the reasons I ran for village trustee, and I've probably said this a million times since being elected, was because of initiatives like this. I want to take a moment to thank my fellow board members for their consistent support with helping this become a reality in Woodbury. I am likely speaking for many residents when I say that Woodbury is long overdue for some preservation efforts, and a plan like this will ensure future generations can flourish here. I am excited for what the next steps in this committee will bring, and humbled to be in the presence of those on the committee who harbor so much of Woodbury's history and such a passion for protecting it. Thank you all, and stay safe.
Thanks, Terry. And I was chatting with Kelly before many of the board members came on prior to the start of the meeting, and we were talking about the beauty of this area and how unique it is and how wonderful it is, and how important what the committee that you're a liaison to is to the community.
I learned so much during that one meeting because, you know, Dorothy Morris and Neil and Sandy, and they bring so much history.
Yeah.
I mean, I was taking notes for days. Just there's so much here that's still left. And when I hear people say, what's left to preserve? It's not true. There's still a lot to work for.
I agree. And I was very excited to appoint each of those people that you just mentioned, because they bring, you know, similar perspectives, but slightly different perspectives from their long time here in the community to that committee, and they can really help. And as they have in the past, they've been involved on many other levels in the past. And
yeah, and
that committee is going to do great work.
I think so.
Thanks.
So I'm excited, and I want to thank you all again. It's really a pleasure to watch and being part of it.
Great. Thanks, Tara. Trustee Giacomazzo.
All right, flying by the seat of my pants tonight, because I didn't write board comments for this tonight.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, so it should be shorter, but I could be droning on. So it could go either way. First off, I want to just talk briefly about the water bills that went out, because that seemed to be a big social media thing. And I've been trying, first of all, I want to thank Mickey and Jean Mundy and our village clerks, Jessica and Desiree, and even Claudia, who kind of assisted me in kind of answering as many people as I possibly could. You know, I can't explain why some of these bills were higher. Me and CJ talked about this. A lot of this, I believe, is COVID related, people being indoors and whatnot. I will tell you this, that one of the residents I did reach out to and answer, Mickey and his guys went to her house today and found that she did have a leak in her sprinkler system. So I do appreciate their attention to detail and assisting our residents, which I think is one of the great things about us as village board members, that we have people like Gary and Rob and Mickey running our departments and willing to go, you know, the extra step for our residents to get questions answered and everything else like that. So if anybody is listening, if you have any questions about your water bill, just private message me. I'll get whatever information I can for you. What I've been doing is just getting a history of the water bills and then going over it with you just through private messenger. So enough with that. I do want to talk just briefly about somebody who is having a very difficult year, and that is Colleen Pierce, who I consider the patron saint of Woodbury. She has had to keep her business going during this COVID, which has affected her, probably her business dramatically in terms of income and revenue. She lost her mother during this year, and now she recently had to close down because of COVID precautions. A group of us, as the mayor mentioned and as CJ mentioned, got together to try to brighten her day. And I must tell you, I was very proud to be able to be there with them. This woman just goes above and beyond for this community. We're there cleaning her place on Sunday, and actually a car pulls up and Colleen is donating all this meat. And it's not something she was worried about spoiling. It's actually food burgers and hamburgers that she went out and bought to donate for a fundraiser. Probably about $1,000 worth of food. This is that woman. That, to me, is the heart of what this We Are Woodbury initiative is about. She is the example that we all need to live by, and what she does for our community. I am very proud of what has transpired so far. We had a meeting again last night, and it's great to just see the numbers increase with the amount of new people coming on each and every meeting. They have another project scheduled for this Sunday, which I know Rob is assisting with, just with pickup and whatnot, where they're cleaning a couple of areas of Woodbury. I think the Pine Hill all the way over to Park Avenue. But there's a lot that they have planned. I want to thank Kate Luciani, who has done a great job. She has been an inspiration and a pain in the hiney all at the same time. But it's her drive that is fueling all this. I want to thank Maria Hunter from the Beautification Committee, who has taken a part in it. I want to thank my fellow trustees and all the residents that have been involved with this. It's heartwarming. You know, it really is. And I mean warming, not warming. Okay, just want to correct that. But I want to thank all the residents so far. We've done some good work to date, and we have a lot of plans moving forward. Thank you all, and that's it.
That was great for being off the cuff and not prepared, Andrew. Very well done.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
And
Desiree,
sure.
did you get all that? I have a question.
And
And Desiree,
sure.
do you know how to spell Heine, or do you need somebody to give you that information?
I just put but.
Okay.
But
So
I
since
couldn't
you're
say
unmuted,
cookies.
do you have
Two
anything?
T's, right?
My grandfather would have been happy with
Two
Tuckus.
T's in that butt, yeah.
Yes.
2 T's in the butt.
So let's go to
Desiree,
Desiree.
you want
as
to
the
mention
department head.
the chamber?
I was going to, but if you want to, you can.
No. I didn't know if you were talking.
I'm always talking.
Yeah, give her a chance.
So I know. I have to wait till I'm called on, you know. I'm not like Kelly. I'll just flam my hands. I like that. Okay, so the Chamber of Commerce, sadly, will not be doing the trunk or treat this year. We are concerned about the liability that it will bring to us not being able to control the crowds. But instead, the manager of Lakeland Bank, Heather, reached out to us about doing a house decoration contest. So this will be only open to residents of Woodbury. Lakeland Bank has put up $300 and the chamber will be matching it.
You still
You're
there?
muted. Des, you're muted.
I'm sorry. How far did I get?
Lakeland Bank matching.
Okay.
You get to
Okay, Lakeland Bank's donating 300. The chamber's matching at 300. There will be 6 awards, 3 awards for each category. There's 2 categories. The first is a autumn seasonal decoration category, and the second is Halloween spooky category, because not everybody celebrates Halloween. So the first award is $150. The second is $100. The third is $50. And you won't be getting the cash. What you will be getting is a gift certificate to a business in Woodbury. And it doesn't just have to be a restaurant. If you want to have your furnace cleaned and you want a gift certificate to a company that does that, we can do that. We have several in town. If you want to have your chimney cleaned, or if you want to have your lawn cleaned or whatever. So it could be for any business that is in Woodbury, and any residents in Woodbury can participate. So the details are on the Chamber's Facebook page. I also shared it to Family of Woodbury. Those are the only 2 groups that I'm on. So feel free to take it from there and share it to the world on all the other Woodbury groups that exist. The deadline is October 22nd, I believe is the Friday. 23rd, October 23rd is the deadline to submit photos on the Facebook page. Then the Chamber with Heather from Lakeland will review all the photos and choose the winners, and they'll be announced November 2nd. So it's still a way to get the community involved in the upcoming spooky holiday without getting the spread of COVID possibilities. So that's what we got there.
Thank you, Des.
Yep.
Rob, you have anything?
I don't.
Thank you, sir. Counselor,
No,
for now.
sorry
Okay.
for, I was waving, hoping Desiree knew by me doing this, she was on mute. No,
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Well, then that concludes our meeting.
I thought that was jazz hands.
It was jazz hands, but it had a
Yeah.
different meaning, obviously. So with no further business to discuss or any additional comments received, can I please have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting so that we can move into attorney-client? So Trustee Gomez with the motion, Trustee Burek with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
But aye. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much. So we'll see you on the next meeting, guys.
Good night.
Good night.